Recently, since the pandemic over the last year, we've been doing what we call the Geffen Stayhouse, which is a sort of pun on Geffen Playhouse. We're trying to pick shows that we feel can overcome the technological divide that we're all facing. When you log onto a computer to watch a play reading or a lot of the beautiful virtual productions that are happening around the country, it just doesn't quite feel like you're in a theater. You can't give yourself over to the experience 100%. We have children in the next room and doorbells ringing and phones ringing and all of those distractions that you don't have when you're in a theater. So for the Geffen Stayhouse, we wanted to pick shows that involved interaction, so interactivity. We would mail you boxes or capsules, things that would, magic could happen in your hand, cooking could happen in your hand, detective work could happen in your hands. And I think that helped overcome that sort of the weird distance of the computer as the proscenium.
As artistic director, what is the most important thing for you when choosing a show?
We picked shows that we felt had authenticity, because I think a lot of what's difficult about watching theater happen online is that actors can't interact the way they normally would in a theater space. So better, we felt, to pick one performer who could connect directly to the audience and try to draw you in that way. So the Geffen Stayhouse shows have really been defined by interactivity and authenticity.
Can you talk to me about how you went from realizing that you had to find a different way to bring entertainment to your subscribers and the people in general, to choosing the shows and to creating them? What was that process like?
We were all in shock, I think, like everyone in the world, as we went into lockdown. No one had experienced anything like this before. We didn't know how long it would last. And our initial instinct was, well, let's stay in touch with our audience. Let's stay in touch with our artistic alums. Let's see how they are experiencing this brand new, terrifying world, and see if there's anything that they can create that will bring a little sunshine into the lives of our audience out there. So we began doing weekly sort of short form content that we would release on Wednesdays, and we would reach out to Geffen alums and say, do you want to make something this week? And it ranged from Helder Guimarães, an amazing magician, doing a card trick involving a poem. It was a beautiful short piece, to Kathryn Hahn doing Glengarry, Glen with American Girl dolls.
I'm through with this mishigas. No one should talk to a man that way. How are you talking to me that way? I am robbed.
But then started having conversations about, well, what would be the next step for us? And Helder, who's a wonderful theater artist, to call him just a magician it's unfair. He's a poet, he's a philosopher, he's an incredibly charismatic presence. And he said, I had this idea of sending out items in the mail and then doing one-on-one magical experiences with people. And I said, this is an amazing idea. Could we scale this up? Could we do this for 25, 30 people over Zoom? And so we quickly put it together with the help of Frank Marshall, an amazing director. And they, built this wonderful show called The Present, which was both, it was a play on words because we sent you a present in the mail. And it was also about the present, the weird present that we were all trying to find our way through. And so that was the beginning of that show. And so it was wonderful because suddenly our audience wasn't just in Los Angeles. Our audience was in every state in the United States. It was in over 40 countries around the world. And one of the things that I think was so important to us is that it felt like theater. All of the things you would expect to have in person, we were doing virtually. And I think that for us fed our soul. And it made everybody at the Geffen so excited because we got to do what we love to do, which is put on a show, even though we couldn't be together.
The online model has been so successful for you. You've really mastered it. Do you think any elements of it will remain in the future as we start seeing semblances of theaters coming back?
Obviously what we created was an answer to the moment that we were all in, this strange, new, scary moment. And I think that the best kind of art responds to the moment. And what the moment will be in 6 months or a year, I can't really predict. I certainly hope that we can go back to what we all kind of think of as normal, or a modified normal, where we are doing shows in person. But if that's not the case, or if the experience of going to theater has changed in some subtle ways or larger ways, we at the Geffen are excited about figuring out how we can change our content and our offerings to match that moment. But the idea of opening up the theater and doing our normal season of shows there with audiences in person and also running virtual programming at the same time, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the moment wants that. What we were clearly tapping into was this need to connect when all of us were apart. And if we can all be together again, will we still want our theater to happen over Zoom? I don't know. But my guess is that we will probably want to be together, because I think that's what theater, one of the great joys of theater is the communal experience. So who knows, but I'm open to whatever the future brings.
And I'm so excited about the upcoming show, Someone Else's House. Is there anything you can tell us about it in your own words, what the show is about?
I will say what I said earlier about what all the shows have in common is absolutely true for this one, which is it's an authentic experience as well as an interactive experience. So, the creator of the show is going to tell you a story about something that really happened to his family. And we've done a lot of different kinds of shows, but I have to say this one is definitely the scariest. And I'm excited about it. I love a good ghost story. And the fact that this really happened is pretty extraordinary. And I'm excited about the stagecraft that's involved. It's, every time we do a show, we try to top the show that has come before it. And that's been really an exciting process. And to partner on this particular show with some really talented theater artists has made this one a very special show.
In your own words, and without giving anything away, what is Someone Else's House about?
Yeah, so Someone Else's House is actually a family heirloom of my family's, plus a little. I grew up where my whole family was telling me this really not ridiculous, but kind of unbelievable series of stories about a time right before I was born, and it was kind of a spectacle my whole growing up. And in the past couple of months, when Geffen was really excited by this, I started digging into the history of the house, probably because I was just like, I need to source check all of this. And so I started doing some research, and unbelievably so, there's a lot of history of that house that completely aligns with what took place for my family.
So how does this story go from just being, a part of your family and just a story that lives within the confines of your household, to becoming a show?
When I was telling some of the people at Geffen about the story, they were like, you just telling this story is terrifying. It wasn't too hard just to make that leap of, the goal of this is about recreating an event and a sensation of being around a campfire and telling the story. And so keeping that simple, and focusing on the text of what the story is, it's actually quite challenging just to create a campfire sensation because of the digital aspect of it. And so I think the process has been how do we equate, because I think if we're just trying to replicate a theatrical event, we're going to be disappointed. But instead, how do we take the good gems of what feels good in a theater or what feels good around a campfire, and then ask ourselves how this technology in this format can best serve those needs? We're interrogating storytelling, and how do we tell stories this way, and how do we make it feel as though you and I are right here next to each other and I'm telling you this story, but also embracing the digital, and I'm telling you a story over the internet, and my Wi-Fi is tough and my microphone is tough. How do we embrace that and use that towards risk, towards connectivity, all of those things that a ghost story is questioning.
Who is this show for?
A larger question is, why ghost stories? And I have felt a huge urge to tell ghost stories and to talk about hauntings right now. I think we're coming out of a really dark moment in our generation. I think that there's a need to tell these types of stories. What does it mean to linger beyond the thresholds, and what are our needs as humans that keep us here beyond our time? And I think that it's for people who feel those things and who are susceptible to those things.
What can audiences expect from this show?
I hope that they expect an authentic, true story, and they're gonna get it. And I am really excited to tell not only the story of my family, but the research is really crazy. I feel really confident that there are weird lineups. I've found publications, I've found newspaper articles, death certificates, wills, all of these things that are like, oh my God, these things line up with what my family experienced. I hope that people, what they can expect is dots actually being connected in a way that we're not fabricating. I'm not fabricating. I'm really excited to share with you. And for people who are interested in that, that's what you can expect. I hope you're excited by that. I am, and I can't wait to share it.